Hi there, I'm Yuri Nikolsky, and in this video, we are going to discuss CDs in medical imaging. Yeah, CDs, compact discs, and I guess we'll bundle up DVDs in the same place. So, what do we use them for? Well, we use them to share studies. The workflow is very simple. Your patient has an appointment at some institution that isn't the place where they had their imaging done. What do we do about it? Well, we burn them a CD, right? Or a DVD, depending on how big the study is. And we hand it to the patient, and they hand deliver that wonderful media to whoever's requesting it. Great? Well, not so much, to be honest with you. CDs have multiple problems, just a myriad of problems, actually. They can scratch, they are easily damageable, a patient can lose them. They're kind of outdated technology, and I mean really outdated technology. It's easy to prove. Just simply look at the computer. If you're sitting in front of a computer, look at your laptop. Do you have a CD-ROM there? Probably not, right? And that's true actually for most computers nowadays. It's just outdated technology. But with that being said, they're still around. How's that possible? Well, the problem is that we don't really have a good enough replacement that would allow us to completely get rid of CDs and never hear about them ever again. Now, there's some replacements that exist, and we'll talk about them in just a second, but unfortunately, there's not a magic system that would allow anyone to be connected to any institution at any time, always. So CDs are still around, unfortunately. Now, is there something else that we could use, maybe? Sure, there's a ton of stuff. Problem is that all of those things are either just as problematic as CDs are, or they're just not widely available. Let's take a look at what else is available. Well, the very obvious contender would be thumb drives, right? USB drives. And quite honestly, if you think about it, they're a lot better than CDs. They are a lot smaller, they're a lot less fragile, they are harder to damage, they can withstand a lot more should, some damage occur to them. And they're just better suited to be transported. They're more portable. So why aren't we using those instead of CDs? Well, the problem with thumb drives or USB drives or flash drives, whatever you want to call them, they get a bad rap. And unfortunately, for a good reason. If I was a physician and a patient brought me a USB drive with their prior imaging, I would be very eerie before, actually plugging that drive into whatever computer I have in front of me. And that simply is due to the fact that it's very possible that there's a virus there. It's very, very possible. So that's the idea with thumb drives. They are technologically superior, but they most certainly get a bad rep. And on the other hand, too, technological superiority is also very questionable because, well, they're kind of getting old too, right? What else do we have? Well, we have the notion of shared systems, right? Those are called enterprise level systems, and they are truly a solution for the CD problem. The issue with those is that there's not a shared system that covers the entire world. There's many different ones, and we certainly are living in that age. They are vastly superior to CDs because basically it's imaging following the patient no matter where the patient goes. The problem is that it only follows the patient within that geography where that shared system exists. And quite honestly, less important what kind of system that is, whether it's just a VNA, or in other words, a shared archive, or whether this is a full blown shared PACS, that has its own considerations. But strictly from the standpoint of study sharing, either one of those does beautifully. The problem is that there's not a magic shared system that covers the whole world. Because think about it, your patient might go to a different country, as an example, and get their imaging done there. That's not uncommon in the global world we live in nowadays. But unfortunately, we remain at the mercy of the patient having to bring back the CD with their examination and ultimately upload it to whatever viewer you're using, probably your PACS. Now, that's the situation that we're at. Now, is there another solution? And there certainly is. That solution lays in the domain of the cloud and the domain of portals, right? I'm sure you've heard about it. Patient portals is basically an extension of storage. Usually VNA, can be PACS. There's different iterations of that. But the idea is that you give the patients access to their own imaging so that they, in turn, as custodians of their own data, can then provide access to that imaging to whichever provider they choose. And that is where we're heading with respect to image sharing. Now, in a few years, it's probably going to be very, very pronounced and really, really widespread. At the moment, they're widespread enough, but, still room to grow. So very interesting to see where we end up with this. And it'll be a great day when CDs are going to be no more, because they're pretty terrible. For more videos like this, subscribe to this channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next video. Take care.